Okay, welcome back. This is 3.2 notes, part 2. We're going to do the rest of the notes packet here. And we want to talk about problems 7 through 9. And it says, in this figure, we know that the measure of angle 3 is 75 degrees. We know the measure of angle 10 is 105. So what I want to do here is, I'm going to label those over here. Let me come over here and zoom in on this. Angle 3, what is it, 75? And angle 10 is 105. So I'm going to write that in here. And I know that angle 3 is 75 degrees. And I know that angle 10 is 105. Okay. So I know that information. Now, the only other piece of information that I have here that's useful to us is that y is parallel to z, okay? So I'm going to write that information down. I know that y is parallel to z, okay? Those two lines are parallel. All right, and I know that x is a transversal, so I'm going to say that x is a transversal, okay, to y, and I know that w is also a transversal, okay, so I know that w is a transversal. Okay, so with that information, because I know that these are that y and z are congruent or parallel, I'm going to start listing off the angles that I know that are parallel or that are congruent and supplementary. So I know that angle 3 is congruent to angle 8 because they're vertical, so this is 75 degrees. And then I know that 8 and 11 are congruent because they're alternate interior angles, so that's 75 degrees. Okay, and then angle 11 and 16 are also congruent because they're vertical angles, okay? And so then let's take a look at 4, 7, 12, and 15. 4, okay, angle 3 and angle 4 are supplementary, okay? And so 180 minus 75 actually gives me that this is 105. Okay, so, all right, and then I know that that's going to be angle 4 and angle 7 are going to be congruent because they're vertical, and that's 105 degrees. This is degrees. Okay, 7 and 12 are alternate interior angles, so they're congruent. So this is 105 degrees as well, and 12 and 15 are also congruent because they're vertical, so 105 degrees. Okay, so now, because angle 10 gave us that it's 105 degrees, it's congruent to all these others. Okay, and I'm going to fill all this other information in, that all these other angles are 105 degrees, based on the properties that we have. So 105 degrees. Angle 2 is 105 degrees. All right, and that's it. And then all the other ones are going to be 75, okay? So this is 75 degrees, this is 75 degrees, this is 75 degrees, and this is 75 degrees, okay? So we got all that information, okay? So now, let's go ahead and answer the questions. And we were looking at angle 2. Okay, angle 2, it says it's 105 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to write that angle 2 is 105 degrees. Okay, angle 7 is, where's that at? It's 105 degrees as well. Okay, so 105 degrees. And then angle 9 is 75 degrees. Okay, or no, I'm sorry, number 15 is 105 degrees. Okay, so here's 115. I was thinking of angle 9. Angle 15 is 105 degrees. So I'm going to write that in here. Okay, so, just given that little piece of information and knowing that y is parallel to z allows them to make all that, draw all those conclusions. Okay, all right, let's take a look down here, number 11. And what I'm given, it says to find the value of the variables in each figure. Number 1 is that I've got an x and a y, so I'm going to have two separate equations here. And then the other, one of the things that I know is that these two lines are parallel, okay, and it tells me because of those symbols there. So what I know is that this angle here and this angle here are supplementary, okay? They form a linear pair, so they add up to 180, and that's going to allow me to solve for x. So let me come in here and set up that equation, and I'm going to write 5x plus 40 is equal to 180, okay? And so if I subtract 40 from both sides, then I get that 5x is equal to 140. Okay, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And so I end up getting that x is equal to 28. Okay, now, so that's good information. Now, because these two lines are parallel cut by a transversal, I know that this angle here and this angle here are congruent because they're alternate interior angles. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to label that, and I'm going to call these two angles congruent, okay, because they're alternate exterior angles. And so I'm going to set up an equation for that, okay, and I'm going to set up that 5x is equal to 3y minus 1, okay. Now, in order to solve for y, okay, I need to know what x is, okay, and I do know what x is. It's 28. So I'm going to take 5 times 28 and set that equal to 3y minus 1, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and evaluate that. And so 5 times 28, that's going to give me 140. So I'm going to write 140 is equal to 3y minus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides. All right, so I get the equation 141 is equal to 3y. And I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. Okay, so now we need to evaluate 141 divided by 3, which is going to give me 47. So y is equal to 47. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so we can solve these algebraic questions knowing that strictly that these two are parallel. If those are parallel, then I can set up these equations and draw those conclusions about those types of angles, okay? So now let's take a look at number 11. And so what I know about number 11 is that these two lines are parallel, okay? And that this is my transversal, okay? And I need to solve for x and I need to solve for y, okay? But in order to solve for both, I have to solve for one of them first. Now I'm going to solve for x first because I have this as an x and this as an x. Okay, and what I know, because this is a transversal and these two lines are parallel, is that these two angles here and here are congruent because they're alternate interior angles. So because they're congruent, I'm going to set up the equation 8x minus 10 is equal to 7x, okay? And then I'm going to subtract 8x from both sides, and I'm going to get negative 10 is equal to negative x. And if I divide by negative 1 on both sides, then I'm going to end up getting that x is equal to 10. Okay, positive 10. All right, so that's what we've got for that one. And then, now that I know that x is 10, okay, I now know, and we can do this a number of ways, okay? I know that these two angles here are supplementary because they form a linear pair with this angle, with this line, okay? But I also know that these two angles add up to 180 because they are same side interior, okay, or consecutive interior angles. So, but I'm going to use this one because 7 is a little bit easier to work with than 8x minus 10. Doesn't really matter, but however you want to do it. So I'm going to set up the equation now. 6y plus 20 is equal to 7x. Now, because x is equal to 10, I'm going to substitute that in for x up here. And so I get 6y plus 20 is equal to 7 times 10. All right, I'm going to substitute that in. So I get 6y plus 20 is equal to, what is that, 70? Okay. And so then I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. All right. And I'm going to end up getting that, what do we get? 6y is equal to 50. Okay, divide by 6 on both sides, divide by 6. Now we get a fraction. Okay, fractions are our friends, remember? And so I am going to end up getting y is equal to 56ths. That doesn't divide evenly. If I divide both of those by 2, and by 2, I'm going to get y is equal to 25 thirds. Okay, and that's the answer that we want to get. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you. Just given that little bit of information, we can solve a lot. So hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.